Hey guys, I just wanted to show you what I'm doing with my plug trays and my seedlings. I learned this while I was at Rose Creek Farms last year. So what I find a lot of people are doing in regards to starting their seeds is they're filling up their trays and then they're trying to pack the soil in. And so then when it comes time to transplant, they have to lift it up, they have to try to poke the transplant out, poke it through the hole, get all the plugs out, and it can take a ton of time. So what I learned at Rose Creek was don't pack it. If you have good soil mix, you shouldn't need to pack it because there'll be enough fertility. And so I found a soil mix that works well enough, has enough fertility, and so it's not packed. I found that you can't just dump it right in the middle and then spread it around.
Really?
Because as you do that, you'll have some that are severely, will have very little. I find you have to just pick it up and just kind of drop it. And that'll get you enough in there so that you don't have real sunken spots. Because if you dump it right here and then you spread it, only some will fill in, and then you'll have a lot of air in some of them.
So,
and then they'll be full in others. So I'm dropping it in.
So you're just dropping it like over the top, like just directly over the holes?
Yeah,
like that?
so I'll just scoop it up. I don't have a great system, but I'll just scoop it up.
Yep.
And just drop it, and scoop up more, drop it. And then I'll just fill it in that way, and then I'll clear it off.
You'll push off the excess.
And then I'll just set that down, and then I'll move on to the next one. I'm doing it dry, and so then I'll water that dry mix. So what that then does, I should have gotten to this earlier. These aren't even fully formed yet, but because it's soft,
wow,
you can just pull it out right just like that.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Because the roots are holding it there, and because you're not packing it in there, it's not stuck so hard. And so that root is what's going to help it come out. So as long as you just get a good solid grip on the base. And this plug is still probably it's still at least several more days away. And there'll be more root development by the time I'll actually be taking it up to a larger cell size.
Neat.
But with that root development and that not packing in that soil, it's super fast once you have a full tray. So these trays, once they're filled out, good root development, I can take it out,
pop them.
Yeah, just
pull them out.
plug and
pull
play.
them out, not pop them out.
Yeah, so
really cool.
Yeah.
That's a great technique. Thank you for showing. I'm gonna try that out myself. I have been packing it down, and it is. I don't really use plug trays that much anymore, but when I did, that was always you're with the stupid pencil or the screw.
That was the big thing, the big reason why people go soil blocks is because you're spending so much time. With this, I used soil blocks last year, and I see some benefits to them and some disadvantages to them. One being a lot of time to make them.
Yes, absolutely.
And then comparing that to this is way faster to make them, and way faster to fill these plug trays, and I'm barely spending any time to pull it out. And so I'm not gaining any speed overall to do the soil blocks because I have to spend a lot of time making them. So this way it's more efficient. And that was one of my big takeaways at Rose Creek was ask why. I'd never really thought, why are you packing it in? That's what people were doing, and that's what people said to do. So I was packing it in, and the plug trays, I'd have to spend all day popping them out.
Yeah.
So with this, it's just plug and play.
That's really cool. And one last question: what's the seedling mix here that you're using?
So this is from a company called Berger. It's the BM7 mix. It's actually the potting mix is called Retired because it's like 5 or 6 years old or something like that. So by that time, the fertilizer that they had added to it is no longer really there. So what I'm doing is I'm adding like a cup of 444 fertilizer per 5-gallon bucket full. And that's plenty, I'm finding, of nutrition for these. And because of that mix, so it's peat moss, perlite, and
this is for the microgreens.
It's like bark. I'm using the same both. This is unsifted and this is sifted.
But this is vermiculite and that's perlite.
Oh, sorry. I'm covering up the top. So there's the potting mix, and then I'm just covering with the vermiculite to germinate.
And then just so everybody knows, why do you cover with the vermiculite? What effect does that have?
So that's just going to help. So there's not a lot of resistance there for the seed to push up. It's going to hold in moisture, and you're not going to be exposing the roots. But there is something important to note. Some seeds need light to germinate. So look at the celery. The seed needs light to germinate. So I did not put vermiculite. I just dropped the seed, and
Right.
despite it being in the sun, they all germinated perfectly fine. But if I
nice.
covered it, I wouldn't have had any germination because they need the light to germinate.
Wow, that's
So
a great point.
you just have to pay attention to what the crop needs.
And one other thing I'll mention, I know another reason people will add vermiculite or perlite to the top is to prevent moss from growing. So you can kind of see that on the top here,
Yeah, the algae.
the algae that starts growing, or it can become crusty over time.
Yeah, you can see
as
there is
well.
some algae in here in
Yeah.
the vermiculite.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of me controlling the environment. It's a bit humid.
We are in
humid.
in a very humid greenhouse
Yeah.
too, as well, so that influences